Let's talk about fear. This thing we all know we have that we never really admit we're experiencing, that we've all been through, that we see all around us, that because of what it is, we are afraid of it itself. This is the voice in your head that says, I'm gonna fail. What if I fail? I don't wanna fail. What if I'm not good enough? What if I look stupid? Thing after thing after thing that keeps you from doing all the things you want to do, from getting all the results you want to get. Hey, I'm 7 and I am on this obsessive mission to help people figure out, discover, cultivate, and build the most powerful version of themselves that they can possibly be. And one of the biggest things I see getting people's way, that I know because it got in my way for almost my entire life, is fear. Fear is this thing that manifests under the surface that we don't realize is gripping us. And so today I want to go through 3 big things that can help you get out of your fear and out of your own way. Welcome to my YouTube. If you're new here, I'm going to be regularly going through kind of information, education, but also chill-ish, deep life, personal and professional development stuff. Drop a follow. I know it's boring, but I love you a lot for it. Thank you very much. And let's get into the video. Now, fear is one of the most powerful concept that shocks people into unlocking the version of themselves that they most to be. It's the kind of thing I would use a lot with entrepreneurs I've worked with, primarily the people I've worked with past, who want to get out of a feeling of stuckness so that they can get better results. That's more money made, more deals, things like that, greater success, greater ability to lead the team, and all kinds of basically any result that you could want when you're trying to run a business, because most people don't realize their own fear holds them back more than anything else, because it's malicious, it's insidious, it's small, it's baked into who we are. So I want you to understand something really important about fear. If we go over to my slides here, what is the difference between confidence and courage? So I run a podcast show, and on the show I ask someone this question, and this was their response. Someone can feel unconfident and still do something courageous. And this is the underpinning of understanding how to overcome your fear. Fear does not get overcome here in the mind. It gets overcome out here by doing. The mind is a part of the equation, but the mind and the body are often so interlinked that your mind becomes the body. It's like your body is in the pattern of feeling fear. So the mind is unhelpful, the body is unhelpful, and your skills and abilities themselves don't match up. And so you get stuck in fear. So now we need to understand what fear actually is. This is my favorite description of fear. I describe it on 3 levels, and I've got a link to an article I wrote down below in my Substack that goes into this in a lot more detail. But to break it down really high level for you, this exists in 3 different stages, 3 different places. The internal, the external, and the bridge between the two. So if we go over here to the slide, I like to use the description of a knight commander on the battlefield. Imagine internally, this knight commander felt really afraid. They themselves were fear of their own safety. Maybe they had self-doubt. Maybe they lacked trust or lacked love, and therefore needed to build self-trust or self-love. Would they be in fear? That's confidence. Okay, well, what about the external world, the battlefield, the world around you? What if they didn't have the courage to go act out in that world? Would that be someone who had some fear? You'd probably say yes. Okay, what's the bridge between the two? This was the real unlock for me. I realized that even if you fostered a sense of courage where you could go out and act in the world, and you fostered a sense of love internally so that you had the confidence to feel better, to do better, to act better, to have that courage and to feel great while you did it, if you habitually held up this shield in between you, your body, your unconscious mind would be telling you there is still a threat out there. And so everything would still feel like a combat scenario. These 3 stages illuminate the 3 places that you need to overcome. And so today we're going to work on 3 big things that each help work on one of these spaces. I think it's important as well to chat about what happens when fear takes over. We all kind of have this idea of what fear is, like, oh, I'm afraid of the thing. You know, something jumps at you, I'm afraid. But it's not that simple. Yes, that's part of fear. Most of our fear, especially in the modern day, is unconscious, habitual pattern. And because it's unconscious, we're not conscious of it. Consciousness is essentially just awareness. Do we have the awareness of the thing? So what happens when fear takes over? This is how we recognize when it's fear and when it's maybe something else or whatever, right? So first of all, your brain will detect danger of some kind, even if that danger is just you saying something in a meeting, putting your hand up, speaking out, asking a question in a public place, talking to a stranger on the street. There's some kind of danger being detected. Then what happens is your nervous system reacts. Your whole body undergoes this physiological process where things tense up, blood rushes to the brain, to the extremities, to your arms and your legs. And that's because you're at this point are naturally falling into one of your two choices. If you see here, you have essentially two choices when this happens, when you're feeling fear: to retreat or to rewire. We'll go through what rewiring is in just a minute, but this retreat is the fight or flight response that you're used to. If you go, you're running away. If you go, I'm gonna fight, okay, you're staying, but you're treating it like a fight, as opposed to, well, what if it's an opportunity? What if you're in a workplace and you have an opportunity, you need to do something courageous to get an opportunity to elevate in your career? This is all perception, and your levels of perception allow. So the question is, do you want to be stuck on the superficial level of perception, or do you want to go in deep and start to change the pattern? Change what your brain detects danger, change how your body reacts, and change what you do. If you want amazing results, you gotta rewire. So these three big things we're about to go through are the things that will help you do that exact rewiring. The first of them is understanding your physiology, your physical body and how it reacts. The fastest way to shift fear is to change your body first. To try to operate only in the mind, you've got to tell yourself, I'm going to do this thing differently. This is what's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. And actually, your mind is often listening to your body, not the other way around. Because when it's unconscious, the body is the mind. So what you must do is practice and get used to changing your body language, right? Do you think that if you're hunched over, if you're kind of tight like this, you're tense, you would feel confident? Well, here is something for us to try. If we go over to the slide, we'll see when you stand up. I'm already stood up, but if you're not, stand up right now. Let's give it a try. Stand up, put your arms up, put your arms back, your shoulders back. So you're really opening up your physiology. When you open yourself up like this, what you do is you give your body space, you signal that there isn't danger, you signal that you're up, that you're aware, you're kind of stretching, and it releases any kind of tension that's stored. Then with that space, you can also do internal breathing. So here's a breath I recommend you do. It's really simple. You're essentially taking faster, deep breaths. And these deep breaths must be powerful. Powerful means as opposed to a kind of calm, deep breath. You're going in and out fully and powerfully. So let's do 5 of these together right now. And that looks like this. Fully in, fully out, done powerfully, like you're about to go in to do a thing. When you've done this, notice how different you feel. You might just notice you feel really, really epic. Suddenly everything is opened up and you're sending the signal to your brain, hey, there's nothing to be worried about. Then you have the ability to change part 2, which is your language. So often when we're in fear, some language going on in our head is like, I'm nervous about this. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Rarely will your brain say, I'm too afraid, because our ego doesn't like to admit that we're afraid. That's one of the reasons why fear can be so insidious, is it's like hidden. But the brain's fear response still activates when you're in lots of other survival-based emotions. So what you want to do instead is shift nervousness into excitement. There's some really interesting research that shows that nervousness and excitement do very similar things in your body, but the results are very, very, very different. The results when you're nervous are worse than if you thought nothing at all. And if you're excited, your results are better than ever. Why? because the excitement puts you in a positive frame where you want to move towards some kind of great result. So please understand that your words, your thoughts, and your actions therefore create your entire reality. Your entire reality around you is going to be determined, maybe not immediately, but over time with or by your thoughts, your words, and your actions. That is how you become a creator in the world. So we want to change all three of them. What you need to do for this is decide on 3 things that you want to be thinking that you want to get, that is positive. So one final thing actually to go over is there is a difference between going towards something you do want and moving away from something that you don't. So for example, if I said, how do you want to feel? And you felt afraid, you might say, I want to not feel afraid anymore. The problem with that is that that is moving away from the thing you don't want. And it sounds logically like the same thing, but your brain reacts differently. There's some interesting research from a long time ago that showed if you use the exact same sentence where you said, this thing over there is a really big problem, and then you use the exact same sentence, change the word problem to the word challenge. This thing over there is a big challenge. With the word problem, your blood pressure would rise. With the word challenge, it would stay exactly the same. We view challenges as interesting things to move towards and be excited about, go out there and do the thing. Whereas a problem is something to be afraid about. When we're nervous, when we're afraid, everything within shrinks. If we're excited, if we are seeing a challenge, an opportunity, we want to go get the thing. We incentivize ourselves by almost tricking our brain into helping us feel better and get better results. So your task for this is to decide on 3 things that you want that you can frame in the positive, in the for something. Again, you want to be towards what you do want. These are things you can write down and focus on cultivating every single day or in every situation. Once you've worked on both your physiology and your language, the final thing is when you're doing these regularly, you'll notice this 3rd thing come up, and that is that you are caught in patterns. Your unconscious self is the patterns that you are. The actions in your life that become the habits that you regularly do, and that is a pattern. When it's a habit, it's unconscious. This is a pattern that you're caught up in. You're almost stuck in unless you realize you're in it and you do something about it. So that brings us on to part 3, which is pattern interrupts. When you've improved your physiology and you've improved what's going on in your mind, then you can also start to notice the patterns that you're regularly in. You're now thinking a little more consciously and you go, oh, why do I always say that thing? Why do I always think that thing? By noticing a pattern, you have the ability to disrupt it. And that is what changes your brain's wiring and what it regularly gives back to you. You want to shake off any tension, stretch, take a deep breath. The second you change your body, your brain starts rewiring, and that's you interrupting the pattern. So you're changing the old pattern. What's going on in your brain is that neural pathways that are so used to unconsciously firing will just keep firing. So whenever your physiology is bad, you change it. You're not just making yourself feel better, you're also rewiring the brain by getting rid of the old pattern. So you're building something new while getting rid of the unhelpful old at the exact same time. That's physically, but you can also do it with brain. So those patterns in the brain, maybe I'm regularly saying something negative towards myself, and I don't just start saying something positive, I also catch myself as soon as I start saying the negative thing, and then say the positive thing. You're doing both the new thing and getting rid of the old thing every single time you notice, you interrupt, and you do the new thing. And if you do this for both the physical and the mental part, then you're constantly interrupting your subconscious unhelpful fear thoughts on all the levels. Any self-doubt that you have comes back to this. It is baked in the back of your head unconsciousness. And boy, is that powerful. You are stuck in a loop. Any fear you have, any courage you want to have, if you want to be closing more deals, climbing your career ladder, building a business, leaving a job, leaving a relationship that's bad, whatever you want that you need more courage for, you're only doing because you're stuck in a pattern of some kind. When you think about all the most inspiring people in your life or as role models to you, do you think that they never felt any fear? Of course they did. We all feel it all the time. What we all must do is do the things that break through anyway, that overcome fear regardless. The fear slowly over time dissipates because you get used to and comfortable doing the uncomfortable thing by rewiring these patterns in your brain and your body. And eventually, you are the owner of your life. I hope by putting these three things together, you're able to radically change whatever comes up for you. If you want a little bit more, I have some free stuff that you can get. Going over back to these slides here, I've got some free resources down below. I'm running some programs in person in London, which is what you're seeing on the screen right now. I've also got longer webinars, more free stuff, lots of stuff I've written about this. Look, I really want to help you get out of this, to break out, to discover and cultivate the you that you most want to be. And that's not going to happen if you're like stuck being afraid in your life. So check some of that stuff out. And whatever you do, just go out and do something. If there's like one thing that you need to set yourself to do something uncomfortable, just write that down and go do it. Then that's what you need. Go do it. But if all this stays in your head and only in your head, you will never get to the place you most want to be. Good luck, and here's to your success.